Yeah, I'm speaking from over here. That is your host, Susan
McCoy.
of What Did I Miss? So we are on the first episode. I am co-hosting. My name is Dee of the According to Who podcast. And we're going to talk about our sponsors first, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, few sponsors.
So we have Taylor's Favorites Raw 100% Juice. We have Black TV Trivia. And of course, you are here. Yes. That's awesome.
We have some incredible guests here. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves, or would you like for us to introduce you?
Well, since you're doing all these introductions, handle it.
Ooh.
You good at it.
Ooh.
Steve Harvey me.
Steve Harvey, you? I don't have no mustache. I don't have no expensive suit, and that big bright white smile. No, I don't want to introduce you.
So I'll go ahead and I'll do it. This is Mrs. and Mr. Warren. And you guys are such a beautiful couple. And over here, we have the handsome Mr. Davis. Yes, let's get into it.
All transparency, I had no issue introducing you. I just could not remember your last name.
I felt like she did.
And I didn't want to pick it out.
Right.
All right, so jump into the podcast, girl. What's going on?
I have decided to step back out into the dating world. And it's very difficult for me because so much has changed. I remember back in the day, right, back in the day where you meet someone and you like them and it's just, we go together now.
That's because
Now, right. And that's terrible because we miss so much. And I want to do it right this time. I want to make sure that I actually find a life partner and not a soulmate. I want to cover all of my bases. I want to interview properly. And I've just been having a really hard time with it. I feel like maybe it's me. Maybe I'm too erotic, or I feel like when people see me, they don't want to approach me because my demeanor, maybe, I don't know. Help me.
You've been for 13 years. So tell me your love story.
Tell you our love story. Okay, so I wasn't looking for him, first of all. It just happened. So should I go through the whole thing or just the condensed version?
Enlighten me.
Are you going to give me your version and you're going to give me yours, right? Because it's always two.
It depends on how far off she is.
Okay, let's see.
I'm not ever off, so it's gonna be the same.
Okay.
I don't know if I should start from, I met him at work, at his job. I needed breaks. Long story short, went there to get breaks. Saw him, approached him. I have never approached a guy before, ever in life. Ever, never, ever. And we just hit it off. I mean, our conversation was it just flowed. There wasn't any effort to it. I don't know. What I was thinking in my mind when I saw him is, I hope he's not with someone. Because if he is, then I can't mess with that because that wouldn't be right. So I met him that Saturday. We've been together ever since, 13 years later. That's the condensed version.
That's accurate.
She told it right?
That's accurate.
Okay, how'd you feel about being approached?
Well,
It was crazy.
She just beat me to the punch.
Right.
Because to be honest, when she slid me her number, I had my number in my hand.
Dang.
Right?
Ooh.
So when I walked up to actually slide her my number, she hit me with hers first. So it caught me off guard for sure. But, you know, I had been single for 5 years at that point, and I had created a very specific list in being single for what I wanted, what I liked, what I appreciated, right? So, you know, at that point, it becomes a lot easier, you know, because you're setting standards for yourself.
Yeah.
So once you have, you know, set standards for yourself, it's not hard to identify those standards. You just have to be serious enough with yourself to stay with those standards, you know what I mean? And so when I met her, I knew immediately, you know, couple key things that lit me off right away.
Wow.
Like, okay. First of all, it was how she spoke, right? I'm at work, so I wasn't dating customers coming through the door, right? But, you know, the way she spoke, the way she carried herself, that was the first thing that caught my attention.
Okay.
And then the second thing that was very interesting, and I'm gonna tell that, right, was very interesting, was that I realized while being single that it was important to me for women to have a certain spiritual standard, right? I couldn't be involved in a woman that had no spiritual standard, which is something I didn't even realize I appreciated until being single and running across women on all different calibers. So she's sitting in my waiting area, and I'm going to approach her, and she pulls a big grandma-sized Bible out of her purse and sits it down.
It was highlighted.
It was
I had my
highlighted.
grocery list.
Pages all crinkled, so I know she used it. But she pulled it out and set it to the side to get something else out of her purse, and I said, okay, we doing something different here. You know what I mean? I appreciate that. So it was little things like that immediately that started lining up, and I was like, okay, I'm interested to find out more about her. Right.
So what did dating look like for you guys? How
Very
long was that
intentional.
process?
Yeah,
Quick and intentional.
very intentional because we
Controversial.
both have been married before, and we both knew what we didn't want in our second relationship. So got to it right away. Do you want any more kids? No. Cool, me either.
First date down.
First date, no
Right.
more kids.
Right.
That was the biggest thing because sometimes you meet people and they don't have children and they want it. So when we established that, everything else was smooth sailing.
So I have a question. So being that you guys were married before you guys ended up in the relationship that you guys were in before, did you guys date? Or was
I
it?
had 5 years between time. So I
But your first marriage, did you date?
Yes, but we were young. So it looked totally different than us.
What did it look like then versus what it looked like when you guys met?
I got married the first time when I was 23. So dating at that point, in retrospect, was kiddie, really. It was really nothing to it, right? At 22, 23, you don't really even know what you want. You know what I mean? You only know what you're attracted to by nature, right? You don't really have a list or have lived enough to really have a comprehensive level of what I want or what will sustain in a relationship. So dating the first time was really just more about having the things in common at 23, which is irrelevant because we got divorced at 34. So who I was married to at 23 is not who we were at 34.
And of course you expect the person to grow.
But when you get married that young, I don't even know that you do.
Really?
You don't have enough experience to know that you'll grow and change, right? Because you're looking at someone else, you thinking to yourself, you got it together, you got yours together, so we're gonna get married. You don't even, at 23 years old, I don't think you realize that who I am at 23 has nothing to do with who I'll be at 35.
And I think that may be an issue as well. We don't know how to accept the fact that we have to change and we have to grow, and it's a problem if you're not when you're in a relationship because it's either you're going to grow together or you're going to grow alone. So now you guys are in this beautiful bubble, and so how long did you guys actually date before you was like, okay, this is my person, I'm gonna do this?
Probably about 2 weeks.
Legit. No,
When we
Really?
start talking about marriage within like 2 weeks.
Because again, we knew what we did not want going into. I don't have time to waste.
So there was no fear there?
No.
No.
We were.
You didn't think you was gonna lose all of your money in a divorce?
But again, I had been divorced for 5 years, right? I had been divorced for 5 years. So
well, we lose half everything.
well, no, I had been divorced for 5 years. So my list, and I think it was more important as a man because we tend to be a little bit more superficial. So my list was very specific, right? So when I met that person and she completed that list for me, what was there to play games with?
So did your list consist of like more values, like value system based, like?
My list was very complete. So it went from BS all the way to values. Like I say, it definitely was important that she be spiritually based, right? So it went all the way from true values all the way down to superficial stuff, simple stuff, what her hands look like, does she keep her nails done? Do I have to suggest that it's time to go get your hair done, or is that something you stay up on? I mean, so from from the most simplistic things all the way to the deepest things. I started silently putting a list together that you don't really know when you're out in the streets dating, if you will, that you really are compiling a list. You don't really know because it's not really intentional. You just start to kind of take a mental note that, okay, I appreciate that. Oh, I've never experienced that before. I appreciate when that was done for me. Oh, that's something that's a deal breaker for me. That just turned me off. You're right. So as you go through the motions of dating, you start creating those things for yourself. So, you know, when you meet somebody that is not, you know what I mean, or should I say, when you meet somebody that is falling into those categories, you know what it is.
I feel like that's one of my issues. I'm a very calculated person, and I feel like everything should have a time frame, in the sense of, you said 2 weeks, but how do you really know all the seasons of a person in 2 weeks? How can you calculate that in 14 days? How do you know that if I say, because you know, when people come to you at first, they're gonna interview one way, or they're gonna be one way until you actually get to know them. So, you know, I can do something and it may upset me, and you can see me this way, but if I don't do it within that period of time, then you're never going to see those seasons. So how did you work through that? Because in my head, it's like, I need to see all sides of a person before I can say, okay, this is it.
Nothing has ever changed. I mean, within that first week, we established our mantra, which we stick to today. Open, honest communication, no matter what. Because I might say something to you, you don't like it, but I'm being honest, but I'm not trying to hurt you. So we have the open, honest communication no matter what. We just, I can't explain it. We just knew. It was just a gut feeling. Everything it just clicked.
Do you think, had you guys hesitated and got to know each other more outside of matrimony, that it could have caused issues versus going with what you felt, and once you were in the matrimony, having to actually work through things instead of just quitting? Do you think that helped, the fact that y'all did not take the time to let shit go awry before y'all decided to get married? Because a lot of people do that.
I mean, we were so spiritually grounded. We still are. It's like when things just come together and it just all feel natural. There was no fighting, no hesitation. The kids love each other. Our exes get along. Like his ex-wife, we're super close. She can come to my house. I can go to her house. The kids all get along. That was another thing for him too. He didn't want to date somebody who had a child the same age as his daughter, because he's such a great dad that not being in her life would have been terrible. He couldn't see himself helping somebody else's child with their homework, and he's not with his daughter helping her with her homework. So that was something that when I met, my daughter was 16 at the time, and I mean, we have 5 kids between the two of us, and they all get along. We just, I don't know, it was meant to be.
So you were out of commission for like 5 years, and you were also dating, right? Within the time. So you weren't dating at all. Is that why you whipped the Bible out? Because you was just like, girl, everybody.
I'm telling you, I had guys approaching me, wanting to take me out. I wasn't feeling it. It just,
So you did no dating at all within,
zero.
After the separation, you did no
Zero.
dating.
And people couldn't understand how I went from being married, and people knew that I was previously married, to not dating anybody. My thing was, I would go to work, church, and the gym every day. Work, church, gym. I wasn't in church every day, but I'm saying church on Sunday, choir rehearsal, gym, back home.
So I have a question for you, Dee. You are the most selfish person I know.
Why do you say that?
Listen though, this is why I say it, right?
Was in college.
Okay, but
Supposed to be
still,
selfish in your 20s.
she was when I say very selfish in her 20s, she was very selfish in her 20s. Like, she wasn't no one gonna bag her. I can't be your girlfriend. We're not doing none of that. She was very selfish. So when did you get to the point where you decided that you were going to give guys a chance and actually not selfishly date? There's a question that comes after this. When did you get to the point?
I met someone that I actually wanted to take that chance with.
Okay, now, you said open and honest communication, right?
No matter what, yes.
So how did it work out? Come on with it now. How did it work out where you had to have
Open, honest communication.
because you, okay, and you selfish, and within even dating, you was definitely selfish. So I'm pretty sure the people that you dated at that point,
Pretty sure.
they're not. You're not with them now. So how did you overcome that? How did you know to close this door and open another? How were you able to do it so easily?
Easily?
Or was it not?
It was
Because you always make it seem like I'm so emotional.
I'm emotional, but not in the same way that you are.
Okay, well, I mean,
I had a lot of childhood trauma as a kid, so I deal with and express my emotions in a different way. I'm not as vulnerable with my emotions as most people are, but they are still there. Maybe even a little bit more emotional than you are. You just are.
What is it that she's identifying as selfish?
Oh, when I was in a high school relationship, you do too much. If you're in college, be single. I went from high school with my boyfriend to college, and we moved 200 to 300 miles away from home, and we were it. I was all in doing dummy stuff. It was stupid, but I was really emotionally tied into that person, and when that ended, I really didn't know how to handle my emotions. So I knew for me and my mental health and my sanity, I could not allow anyone to get me to that place again until I was ready to go to that place again. So because I knew how bad and rough that was for me to get over, it was easy for me to tell you, okay, no thank you. No thank you. You're not worth that. No thank you. No thank you. It was easy to do that because I was choosing myself. I knew what I could and could not handle. By the time I got to that space in which I could, I had matured more. I knew how to handle my emotions and manage myself because I already know where I can go with it, but I don't want to do that. Like I had to deal with anger issues and things of that nature. So that's something I had to do within myself. So I had to be very selfish in that time to protect myself from hurting somebody. So
Self-preservation.
So it was much easier for me to tell someone, no thank you, I don't want to date you. You're not worth that to me at this particular time. I think you're very nice.
that's exactly how you said it too.
It's always work you have to do on yourself before you can involve anyone else. So it was a very selfish thing, as if you said. Yeah. Call me out.
So I think now where I am in my life, I think I come off selfish to people a lot. Because before, of course, in my 20s, definitely vulnerable. I feel like I started my relationships later because I was 21 when I had my first boyfriend. I was 21 versus 16 or 15. At that point, when I made that decision, I was dating and I made that decision, okay, well, this is the person that I'm going to be with. I think immediately, like 2 weeks later, my heart was broken. So, that put me in a headspace. It was like, okay, well, maybe dating is really terrible because it didn't get me anywhere. I was naive. I was vulnerable. I didn't get the tools and resources that I needed for myself and to even, I guess, be with someone else.
What's the difference between the process of dating and actually finding a relationship?
I can answer that for you.
Please.
As women, we do not date. And we don't date properly. We go straight from, oh, I like you today, to, okay, I'm all about this one guy.
We go together now.
And so we don't actually go through the process of dating, which is why we get so attached so quickly. We go straight into a relationship.
Absolutely.
Whereas guys actually go through the process of dating. So when they actually fall in love with you, they're actually in love with you. Ours works similar but not the same. It's quite different. I don't feel like we date properly, and that's the reason why we don't date properly.
And I guess in connection to exactly what you said, like I said, I was single for 5 years. If we want to call it dating, then that's what I did on a high level. I wouldn't necessarily call it dating, but I was definitely in the streets.
Yeah, it's hard for, as she said, it's hard for a woman to do that and stick to. You definitely dated. You were selfish, and I love that. I love that about her, but I could not.
It's
I don't know why I couldn't do
standards
it.
for me, right? Like I said, when I met her, I had been out in the streets long enough to know what I appreciated and didn't appreciate, and I couldn't connect that with my first wife because I was married so young. So I didn't really have a definition of what I liked and didn't like, right? Because I'm already married at this point. So whatever you bring to the table, whether I like it or not, I got to deal with it, right? One way or the other. I got to make the adjustments. I got to deal with it. I got to learn to like it. Whatever that looks like, that's what that has to be. But being single for 5 years, I really was able to determine what I like and don't like, what values stood strong for me and what didn't. So it definitely was different. I wouldn't call it dating for me, but I guess that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what that was.
Experiencing people with no ties or no true attachments. Just having an experience with you. What's that like? Mm-hmm. Did you date?
That's all I did. Date. Currently single for 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Still dating.
Gotcha.
Just haven't found a person to get in a relationship with.
Did we introduce you?
Yet.
It was a while ago, but yes.
So I was like, did we introduce you?
Yeah, we introduced Jeremy.
Okay, so what does that look like today? What is dating today? Right? Like I keep saying I didn't date, but I guess that's because of how I qualified what a date looks like. But what does that mean to you? Dating.
Pretty much vetting somebody almost. It's like an interview.
Gotcha.
Pretty much going on an interview with somebody to see if they meet the standards that you want them to have. That's dating for me.
So you do quietly have that list of things
Yes.
that you love and don't love
Got
in the back
to.
of your mind.
Subconsciously, yes.
Yes.
I love this list.
I'm
That's
trying
what I'm
to. I
saying.
need a list.
It happens
I
for
need a
us.
list.
The reason I love this because it's honest, and most people say we're the only ones that have lists. So
Right.
it's awesome to hear that you guys have
Oh,
an
100%.
actual
Yeah.
list. We have some gentlemen in the audience. Did you guys have a list? Do you have a list?
Oh, baby, baby.
You said what? Cold pimping? Cold pimping?
Cold pimping.
You got a long list. You got a long list. What's like how high does aesthetics place on your list?
Extremely. Because let's be honest, I'm never going to care about your morals if I don't like how you look. It's not that type of party. You know what I mean? It is not about, well, she's a beautiful person inside.
It's not true.
That's not what it is. And any man tell you that, he's lying.
He's lying.
I mean, he might be insecure in himself, and that's how far he felt he could take it, so that's why he ended up there, but he's lying.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? She has to be aesthetically pleasing first for me to approach her. And then secondly, I'm like, okay, I really enjoyed this conversation, right? Or on the flip side, you could be gorgeous. Then I could walk up to you, we could have a conversation, and I could be like, you have a nice sweetheart.
That ain't it.
That ain't the one. You know what I mean? So it can go in either direction, you know. So it's first, but it's not the end all be all.
Are you willing to? Because now they invest in aesthetics. Or is that something that you guys are into doing? You can build a.
You can build a body.
Yeah, I mean, aesthetic. Does it really matter now? You can just pay for it to look how you want her to look.
Nah, you don't want to do that.
What if she has that great heart and it's just like, damn, if I could just tweak this one thing. My money's on
You know,
it.
I think it depends
Let
on
me
the
get that good heart.
circumstance because the first thing I'm gonna want to know is why. You know what I mean? Does she feel incomplete without these bigger boobs or this?
No, you said aesthetics matter to you.
I understand.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna talk her into a bigger ass or bigger boobs, right? That's something that she already done presented in some form of fashion, and I'm either with it or not with it, right? But my first question of concern, now that we're going into morals, would be why. Is it something that's missing?
But she don't want you to miss out on this good heart.
Okay, well,
She don't like the
the heart free though.
Good point.
A very good point. Yeah, you got your tongue with that one.
Got a good point. So dating looks differently for everyone. Why didn't you consider what you were doing dating once more?
Because I wasn't really investing in women. I was investing in me. In all fairness, right? I had been married for 13 years, right? By the time I'm in the single world, I'm mid-30s. Accomplished a few things, got a few things going for myself, but like I said, I really don't know what's important to me, right? I just know that at this point, after all of these years invested in a marriage that no longer is working, the first thing that I got to get right is me. So I'm taking into consideration things that mean something to me, right? So while I'm in the space of mingling, meeting women, the whole 9 yards, because I was at that stage and because of the way I was carrying myself, I was attracting professional women. And most women were in their mid-30s or whatever. So they like, he got to be talking about marriage, right? He got this going, he got that going, speaks well, mind's right. You got to be talking about marriage. And I'm like, no. You know what I mean? I'm like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I've been married for 13 plus years. I'm not even about to lead you in that direction. So if that's what you're looking for out of me, I understand. But I got to be clear with you and let you know we ain't getting there, right? So you got to deal with that. And like I always joke with her, most of them, they out immediately for about 2-3 weeks. And then they come back because they realize that was an honest conversation that they probably wasn't getting anywhere else.
So what made you even decide to get married again?
Well, like I said, after that period of time and really determining what was important for me, she met that immediately. And I knew that immediately. Even to the point where I had women that I was dating, like, I thought he wasn't ever getting married again. You know what I mean?
Oh, you was that guy.
I thought
You was that guy.
You was got that pop like he's
Yeah.
with this
I
out
thought
here.
this guy said, oh, okay, I see.
Married?
Right.
I thought he didn't want to.
Exactly.
We couldn't even go to.
Right.
Had to change his number.
Had to change my number.
Oh, it was
Damn.
What that looks like.
dating
Just talking
up
to
or
him.
Yeah.
dating down in respect to what?
But that's the point.
Okay.
What is that in respect to,
Okay.
right?
I don't date, and for whatever purposes people may or may not believe this, but I didn't grow up with a father who was struggling. My dad always had money. I always had an abundance of things. If I wanted them, I had access to them. So it really put me in a position to actually love and not survive. So when I view men, I don't see you as a come up. Because at this point in my life, there's no, let me not say that now, but at that point in my life before I got with my current partner, there was nothing that a man could do for me. My father wasn't able
Right.
to.
That's so important.
But what
So
does it look like on the flip side then, though?
There's
What
probably
if
nothing
you're
I
dating?
could do for him
I was about
that
to
his
say, what
mother
if dating up is
couldn't
you?
do for him. You know, that's just how, but I think that allows you to look at the person and not, when they say dating up, normally they're speaking in terms of finances when it comes to men, and when it comes to women, when they're speaking about dating up, they're speaking in terms of her aesthetic. Because whether we want to admit it or not, currency for women is the way that we look. Currency for men is the way they look at the bank. It has nothing to do with how they look or anything. Well, some of y'all be getting away with it, but most of the time it's about what they have in their pockets. So y'all floss. We floss in different ways. Our ways get judged. Y'all's not so much.
This is true.
But in regards to your question, dating up or dating down, I think that's relative to the person and whether they're in love mode or survival mode. I don't really like or enjoy dating survivors.
But it
It's
could
not-
also be the same as the circles you keep. I don't want to be with my friends if they're broke. I want to be with
Somebody who's going to take me to the next level. So I think the dating up or dating down,
broken which way?
just
Period.
if they're not
It's
trying
usually, it's
to,
usually relative.
I can talk. See, when I speak of broke, I speak of people who have no ideas. They have no passion.
But that's what I
Right,
said.
that's what I'm
So
saying.
you
That-
speaking in terms not
that's
financial.
relative.
Not just
Okay,
financial,
gotcha.
just
Right.
all that as a whole.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
Right, so that's the dating up, dating down. If I'm with you and you're not helping me to elevate, or you're not even wanting to elevate to go to the next level, then what are we doing for each other? We're just living, we're just here.
Right.
I want somebody who's going to pique my interest, make me strive to do better, not just be here. You know what I mean?
I think that's the true test of how I see and view people's relationships.
And that's why I think what you said was spot on. The women, they can bring aesthetics to the table, whereas men is usually looked at as financial. I even meant stepping back some and looking at it from a more pure point of what do we do, right? Because it's not necessarily about me making you better, right? You have to want that for yourself, but at the same time, does my energy give room to that? You know what I mean? Are we both in a space as a partnership where we both want the best for ourselves as well as one another, right? So that's dating up or dating down, right? Because if I bring that kind of energy to the table and all you want to do is lay on the couch and flip channels all day, we got a problem.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I can't be a rocket ship, you know what I mean, and you ain't even a tank of fuel.
Talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? What we doing, right? So I look at dating up or dating down in a whole scope of a lot of things. I think what you said is part of it, or can be a part
It's
of
just
it.
the general,
Right.
the most
Yeah.
basic form
Right.
of how
Yeah.
most people would see
Right.
it. The way you're talking about it is, that's the way I've judged whether two people are doing well together. If you're, I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe I'm wrong for this, but if I look at you and you and your partner are doing worse than y'all were doing separate, I just feel like y'all need to be together.
Facts.
And that's what I'm talking about.
But if y'all together and both of y'all are doing better, y'all need to be together.
And that's what
If
I'm
if
saying.
y'all in the same position or worse, that's a
Then why
waste
are we
of
together?
time.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And then some people just don't know how to play well with others.
That is true.
Right.
That is very that is very true.
Can't play with others.
A lot of women, black women specifically over the age of like 50, 60. I don't even need to shout that out, but that's the truth. They don't play well with others.
And for you being a rocket ship, my goodness, that's a spot to be in.
Yeah,
A
I
black
take off.
woman rocket ship. That means I gotta come to the table with all my cards and ready to play.
Yeah, I take all the way off.
Or I ain't doing nothing but
But
looking,
looking
at
at
your
your
trail.
trail.
You know what I mean? Your
Right.
fuel
You got to
trail.
be able to fill all the holes.
Yeah.
You have to be able to patch up everything.
Do you think you would more appreciate being with a rocket ship, or more appreciate a man who can fill the gaps?
I need a hybrid.
Got
I
to
need
look
I
them
need
up, huh?
I need a hybrid. I have to have both. And I have to have both for survival purposes, because I take off so fast sometimes. It be like I need somebody to catch me. My mind is always going. My mind goes in my sleep. My mind is going now. I feel like I'm the type of person, I pour into others. Someone has to be able to pour into me. You have to fill my
That is
cup.
so important.
You have to be able to feed me. I have to grow.
You gotta fill your cup.
No, I can fill my own cup, but that doesn't mean that at the end of the day, there are things that I can give to myself 100%. Yes, I can affirmate myself. Yes, I can fill my cup. Yes, I can do all of those things, but there's nothing like having a partner that can meet you 100% and do it too. That means you're overfilling my cup. I want to be overfilled. I do.
You said that's a lot.
To have to fill your cup, now I can help your cup overflow, but to give you what's essential to you, I don't want to be responsible for that.
You know, matching me. I want to be matched. That's not what I'm
Maybe I
saying.
misinterpreted what you
What I'm
said.
saying is,
Okay.
I can do all those things for myself. I feel like I'm out here dating. I do very well for myself. I don't need anything from anybody. I'm good. But at the end of the day, what are you want to bring to the table? You have to be able to bring 100% to overfill
You
me.
just want them to match you.
I want to be matched, because if I'm a rock, you were asking what I wanted, right? And I said I wanted a hybrid.
Right.
So if I'm taking off, I want a mixture of both. And if you're giving me both, you're overfilling me, because you're still giving me what I already have plus more.
But what are you giving?
I'm going to be giving the same. I can match any energy.
Yeah, but if you have so much that you're going to be taking off, you don't really have a whole lot to give back. You need more support. you don't have a whole lot to deposit.
Right.
I feel like there's a lot to deposit.
Because the hybrid.
I'm indifferent to that.
Speak on it, brother. I ain't need her.
Because essentially the hybrid is actually doing more. Because he not only is he meeting you, but he's also bringing that back in. All you doing is thrusting off. So you got to bring that back in too. So the hybrid technically is outworking you.
Man, I don't see it like that.
I mean, it was an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Give me more.
Well, you ain't got to say outworking them. But outworking sounds horrible. But a hybrid is doing so many things, right? You're taking off. You straightforward.
Right.
You straightforward. A hybrid is straightforward and back. Straightforward and back. He can slow down. He can go forward. You just straight. You're not slowing down at all.
But is that a match? Because the way you
It is a perfect match almost.
I guess where it felt wrong to me when you first explained it was that you said the hybrid is doing more, right? And in order to do more, in that statement, you are basically detracting, you know what I mean, from what the rocket is doing, right? So I don't know that it's necessarily doing more. I just think your energy is being placed in different directions than the rocket is, right? And I don't see anything wrong with your explanation other than, you know what I mean? You it's not about who's doing more, because I guess that would take me to the other conversation, right? We always talk about the 100% thing, right? Who's giving 100%. But the truth of the matter is, I think that's a fair intent. But in life, as life is lifing, you got to be able to have enough grace in the relationship to know and understand. Communication probably number one, but to know and understand, hey, I ain't got 100% this week, right? I got 20 today. You know what I mean? But the truth is, if our intent is both to give 100, then what I'm gonna try to do, if she tell me, hey, I got 75 right now, right? My job is not to match her 75.
Exactly.
My job at that point is to try to give 125. Right? Cause we don't need to fill the gap because she ain't there right now.
Right.
It's certain circumstances, reasons, anything that she ain't 100% this week. But we ain't gonna charge that to a loss. Right? All right. It's 125 for me this week, cause we still gonna be at 100. Right, across the board. So I think it's more grace than anything to just communicate and understand that I ain't there right now. You know what I mean? And if you constantly communicating, I might not even have to say it. Right? It might be unspoken. I see you. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. I got you. Right? You know what I mean? So what does that really look like? You know what I mean? People can't really give 100% all the time, right?
Nope, not all the time.
But if it's your intent to give 100%, then you'll do whatever it takes. You're not gonna be comparing notes. Well, I'm giving 100%, and you over there only giving 50. No, you ain't gonna play the note game, right? Because we both gonna be down in every category, right? You know, there's been as much of a king as I would love to believe I am. Let's be honest. I have been laid off, right? There have been moments where I got to go to the wife and be like, "Yo, I just got the air kicked out of me," right? Just got the air kicked out of me. But her response is, "Don't worry about it. We be all right," right? Because she know in that moment, that's all I needed to hear. I know we gonna be all right, but the wind just got kicked out of me. So that's that moment where I'm 25. She 175 because she didn't just balance me. You're right. We're gonna be all right. All right. Let me go figure this rocket ship out. You know what I mean? Because I just, you know what I'm saying, just got the air kicked out of me. The response could be, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Right? Now I'm more stressed because I already didn't have that answer.
I already thought that.
Right. I already didn't have that answer.
Exactly.
So you just matched my energy by telling me, oh, what are we gonna do? Oh shit, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what we gonna do. No. But
That's what I'm saying.
in those moments, her response has always been the same. Don't worry about it.
And
And
that's
you know what she says? You figure it out.
And that's exactly what I mean when I say 100%. I like the way you put that. There's been plenty of times where I give that same response that you give, but if it was me on the other spectrum of it, I'm gonna be tripping, I'm gonna be losing it. Because of what we talked about earlier, dating up and dating down and the perspective of it. A lot of times in my life, dating, I have been dating down. And now I'm at that place where I have no choice but to go up because now I know who I am. I'm taking off. I'm taking off. I have holes that need to be filled. There's a hybrid that I gotta find. There are all of these things that are on my list that I'm checking. I don't know if I'm gonna meet that 7 day or the 2 weeks. But I'm gonna tell you what.
Match, though. I think
You should never match. Try to match.
I know what I'm saying.
Just let it happen. Just
Yeah.
let it
I
happen.
don't.
But
Because we wasn't, right? We wasn't trying
yeah,
to
of
match.
course that just happened.
Right,
You know,
that's just
it's
our
supposed to
story.
happen.
Right.
But y'all knew the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's the right questions to ask?
Yeah.
Because how important, like, you know, we always go through the I want to get to know you. You're never going to really fully know anyone but by the time you feel like you know them,
Then life happens.
Right.
Right.
they're
Then
They're
life
changing.
themselves.
Right.
Right.
So how in the dating, this is a great question. In the vetting process, we get so invested in trying to be able to predict how you'll show up in a situation. How important is that actually fitting y'all marriage? Because y'all didn't have that. Y'all just had core values and characteristics and character traits of a person to go off of, and the way they reacted in that situation, you assumed that it would be indicative of the character that they had already presented you but you had no idea. How has that worked? If my question makes sense.
Sure it does.
Okay, gotcha.
I think the foundation is probably the key, right? You use the word core, right? I think in that period of time, you have to be intentional. I guess that's probably the first word, right? Once you find yourself in a space where you're being intentional, then I think there is nothing that should be off the table when it comes to vetting a person, right? Let's talk about it, right? Because the biggest business we gonna run is our household. Like I tell her all the time, we can't go out here and run outside businesses if our household is falling apart, right? That's business number one. If that looks good, then I stand a better chance of running another business, right? But if that's not holding up, there's no way I can go out here and successfully run another. So I can't eliminate core foundational things that mean something to me. Like she brought up earlier, something that I found during dating that very much disturbed me. I got out the way real quick, right? At the time of getting divorced, my youngest was 4. By the time I met her, my oldest was 8. My youngest was 8. I realized over that 5 years or whatever that I had dated just a few women who had kids her age. Naturally, I'm over there, you spend a little time with her, she got kids, comes with the package, right? Let me finish dinner up. Can you help her with her homework real quick? Yeah, I got it. You know what I'm saying? I found myself mentally getting angry at myself because I'm like, am I over here investing time in this child when my baby at home, you know what I'm saying, getting it on her own? I'm like, man, this is not lining up for me, right? What do I do with this energy? And it was frustrating because I'm angry. This little girl ain't done nothing to me, right? So I can't display it towards her. I can't be angry at her mama because I knew what I signed up for. So I gotta respect that I'm angry at me. But what am I gonna do about it, right? So the first time I'm like, maybe it's just isolated. But I kept feeling that. And then dated again, similar situation, same emotions arose. I said, okay, this is a problem for me. This is a problem for me, right? This is not gonna work for me, right? So when I met her and our kids was the perfect spacing, if you will, you know what I mean? I was able to express to her, hey, I'm glad that we are naturally like this, because I can't deal with if your youngest was the same age as my youngest and I'm over here investing solely in yours and not mine, right? So that was an honest conversation, right? Yeah. It wasn't an issue because they fell in place, but guess what? If she happened to have had a daughter that was the same age as my youngest one, we got to face that, and we probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
That's a deal breaker for you, right?
It would have been a deal breaker
Yeah,
for me.
okay. Yeah.
You know
I
what I
can
mean?
see that. I get that.
Because I don't know if I wasn't mature enough or if I was too mature in that instance, you know, emotionally. I'm like, what does this mean? You know what I mean? Why do I have a problem with this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because inevitably, my daughter ain't missing nothing, right? She well taken care of. I'm going to get her at all points in time. But it ain't it ain't the same though. You know what I mean? It's not the same. If I move on with this girl, naturally this young girl is gonna get more of my time because she's in the house with me. Whereas this one here, I'm picking her up weekends or whatever it looked like. It ain't the same. I couldn't deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So I think to go back to the initial question, it was really to the point where we were intentional, and it was like, okay, as intentional as we are, nothing's off limits. Let's get it all on the table. Let's see what all of this looks like, right? Because if any of it's a red flag, it's either something that we need to talk about, deal with, and overcome, or we walking away.
Wrap this up.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's get to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we got to it.
Yeah.
So what are 3 essential things that you would say for a couple who is in talks about marriage, and then a couple just meeting?
You definitely have to communicate and say how you feel and what you want and what you expect out of the relationship, what you're looking for, how long do you want to date, what can I do to help you through this whole process. I don't know,
Dating.
just dating or wanting to be
Getting
married.
to the
Once it become intentional to get to marriage, I think that's when it really turns into something else. That's when you need to be having financial
So
conversations.
definitely finances.
Right? What does your credit look like? You know what I mean? Because I
You
know,
shouldn't be embarrassed to ask or even talk about it.
right? I
because
know where
it's
I'm at.
important.
I know where I'm at. Where you at? You know what I mean? Because
we had some tough times back in the day, but
right.
where we at?
but again, going back to what I said earlier, if once we get married, this is our number one business.
Yep.
This is the first corporation that we run, right? So I need to know what I'm signing up for up front. You were 480, you know what I'm saying? I'm a 740.
That's a big difference.
We gotta have some conversations. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but because we've conversated about it, now we gotta dig deeper. Why are you a 480? Could have been a divorce that wiped you out.
Right.
You might have some bad financial habits, right? So there could be things within that conversation that become a deal breaker. But the core facts don't make it a deal breaker, right? There could be a justifiable reason why you're 480. You know, are we working on getting you back to, you know what I'm saying, a 700? You know what I mean? Is there anything I can, right? Because if you financially irresponsible, ain't nothing I can do to help you. You just gonna keep digging a ditch. And I need to know that up front because we wasting our time.
So would you be willing to help teach better habits? Help
Absolutely.
Practicing.
Absolutely.
So some people just are financially irresponsible by
Default.
tradition.
That's what I'm saying. They parents
It's
was
passed
bad.
down to
It
them,
wasn't right.
You know.
But your conversation will identify that.
Okay, you just mean I'm bad and I'm not trying to get any better.
Right.
Okay.
I thought this podcast was great.
This was awesome. You guys were awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having
guys
us.
so much.
Thank you.
Yep, we enjoyed it.
This was definitely food for thought. And
We
you
had
know what I
fun.
missed?
What?
Do you know what I missed?
Tell me what you missed, because that's what this is
I
all
gotta
about.
get this list together. It needs to be longer.
What? No. Hell no. That's what you learned in the whole time we was here. Did it be longer?
The list.
Wait, it went so fast.
The list needs to be things that you can't live without,
Of
not
course,
just
it has all that on
everything.
it.
Damn, you got that
And
much stuff?
I already have a list, but you also know what? I'm very shallow.
You are.
Okay.
You are. You are. And we're gonna work on that
We are.
this entire season.
Yes. But you guys were great.
Thank you.
I'm glad to know that
y'all-
Superman send a representative. I didn't know
Everybody
that we were- I didn't know
sends
that we
a
were getting
representative.
No. Now I know. I didn't know that. I missed that like
Were
hell.
you not dressed to the nines when you showed up?
Listen,
You don't dress
I
like that
missed
every day?
like hell, because that's the reason why I said it's hard for me to accept when people who are not who they say they are. It's because of that representative.
Right.
You know that ain't real though. You should have dated earlier. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure.
See you guys later. What did I miss?